Hello, fellow counselors in training. My name is Ryan Kirkpatrick, and I'm going to be presenting to you the ethical case study called Pills, Chills, but No Thrills. All right, let's jump right in. Dr. Jansen has been treating Eli Lilly for the past year. During a recent session, Mr. Lilly stated that he has been having financial problems and that he can sell his medication to his coworkers and neighbors for money. Mr. Lilly takes a variety of controlled substances, including Adderall for ADHD and Ambien for insomnia. Mr. Lilly receives these prescriptions as well as others from his physician's associate. At the next session, Dr. Jansen asks more questions about the medications he's selling. Mr. Lilly reports that he is selling the Adderall and the Ambien intermittently. However, Mr. Lilly also has acquired a medical marijuana license and he sells medical marijuana in various forms to friends and family. The PA did not know and did not prescribe the medical marijuana license. And Dr. Jansen is now looking to me for ethical and professional advice about how best to approach this situation. So let's jump right in and let's use Welfell's decision-making model. We're all familiar with the 9 steps. So let's begin with step 1, be sensitive to the moral dimensions of counseling. This involves acknowledging personal principles, values, and worldviews. So I'm going to acknowledge a few of mine. I believe that adults should be able to choose what substances they want to put in their bodies. I believe that drug laws and the criminalization of substance use disproportionately harms marginalized and communities of color. I believe that cannabis is not harmless, nor do I believe that prescription medication is harmless. I am sober, but I am ethically and personally very comfortable with safe and informed substance use by adults. I believe that as a white male person, I'm afforded unearned privilege and power within the justice system and the judicial system. And I believe that the industrial pharmaceutical complex and the industrial cannabis complex is profiting from unequitable sale of controlled substances and medical cannabis. I believe that as much as I can within my professional practice, I should be leveraging my power and privilege to bring awareness to the inequity within capitalist systems. And, I believe that I am morally obligated to deliver the most ethical and safe counseling as possible to my clients. So, step 2, define dilemmas and options. Okay, what is the situation? We just went over the situation. Who is the client? Eli Lilly is Dr. Jansen's client. Dr. Jansen's reaching out to me for ethical advice. Who are the stakeholders? At this point, Eli Lilly, Dr. Jansen, the physician's associate, the buyers of the controlled substances, the American Psychological Association, potentially the American Counseling Association, if this were to be a counselor, cultural considerations, the cultural and the intersection of identities of both Eli Lilly and Dr. Jansen, the gender of Dr. Jansen, we do not know Dr. Jansen's gender. The socioeconomic status of Eli Lilly, we know there's some financial difficulties currently, but in a larger scale, we do not know. We also don't know legal history, nor do we know from this the support system, the friends, or the socioeconomic status of the buyers. Are they buying these medications because they can't afford it through the medical market, or is it for recreation? Do we know? Does it matter? We're figuring that out as we go. To find the central issues and the options, first, I want to just say, let's take a quick look at Adderall, Ambien, and cannabis. Adderall, side effects, a couple of major ones, seizures and heart attacks. It's a Schedule II controlled substance. Ambien, side effects, major ones, impaired driving and suicidal thoughts. It's a controlled 4 substance. Cannabis, side effects, adolescent brain developmental issues, and unknown consequences of high potency use. This is important because if this cannabis is being sold to friends and family in the form of candies and children get a hold of it, that could really affect the adolescent brain developmental issues. Also, it's medical marijuana, typically high THC content or can be. And we're talking about the unknown consequences of high potency use, cannabis, Scheduled I drug. Central issues, Eli's risk, medical. Eli's PA isn't aware that he's using medicinal marijuana and is prescribing him other medications. There could be an interaction there that is unthought through, and that could be a medical risk to Eli. There needs to be a general awareness within the care team about what Eli is taking substance-wise so that they can make sure that Eli is safe. Eli's risks, legal risks, illegal, unauthorized selling or distributing of a controlled substance can cause many legal issues, including prosecution, incarceration, and financial penalties. The buyer's risk, medical risk, legal risk. The medical risk is they're taking medications not under a doctor's care. That could be very dangerous, accidents, emergencies, potentially even death, legal risks, being in possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. There's some real legal risks there. Dr. Jansen's risks, harms to the client, Eli, or his buyers, and the loss of his license as a result, or the loss of their license or her license as a result. So without addressing Eli's negligent behavior, Dr. Jansen could be held ethically and or legally liable for not taking the appropriate action necessary to attempt to ensure that Eli or the other buyers of the controlled substances are safe from medical and or legal harm. Potential consequences could include loss of license. Let's move on. Step 4, refer to professional standards, examine relevant laws and regulations. American Psychological Association, let's look at Regulation 3.04. That is, psychologists take responsible steps to avoid harming their clients, their patients, students, supervisees, research participants, organizational clients, and others with whom they work, and to minimize harm where it is foreseeable and unavoidable. I think that's very pertinent. American Counseling Association, if this were a counseling issue, I like B3B. When services provided to client involve participation by an interdisciplinary or treatment team, the client will be informed of the treatment's existence and composition and the information that's being shared and the purpose of sharing such information. So could Eli have known this is a treatment team? They share information. It doesn't break confidentiality. And then there could be a more general continuity of awareness about the medications he's taking. How could that have been important in this situation? Moving on, ethical scholarship, step 5. National Institute of Health, Library of Medicine came across a great article, talks about the Bolin test. To prove liability, we're talking about liability and negligence of Dr. Jansen. To prove liability, one needs to prove that the therapist was negligent and acted in a manner that no other therapist would have. Now, I think the Bolin test is really interesting. Would it hold up in court? Is it something that the American Psychological Association uses? I'm not totally sure about that, but I do know it's a great consideration for us all to think about. Moving forward, consult with supervisors and colleagues. I consulted with a colleague of mine, Mira Rastogi. Mira's a licensed psychologist. Mira's a board-certified art therapist, a group psychotherapist, and a professor at the University of Cincinnati, and we serve on an American Art Therapy subcommittee together. And Mira brought up some great points. Are there other purposes to Eli's behavior? Is selling these substances serve other purposes as well? Dr. Jansen should lean into wanting to know that and create dialogue around that and create understanding around that. Maybe Eli doesn't even know that. Or maybe Dr. Jansen can help Eli become more aware of that. What are the ethical policies of the care team? Can the care team talk amongst themselves without breaking confidentiality? Consult a state ethics board. Mira would consult a state ethics board immediately. And I thought, that's exactly what should be done. Let's get some understanding by people who are trained in ethics specifically. Document the process from beginning to end and everything in between, a thorough documentation of the process. And what are the legal and ethical obligations with no identifiable victim? We know there's purchasers of the controlled substances, but are they victims? Can they be identified? Would they consider themselves victims? We don't know that, and those are really interesting considerations, and I appreciate Mira's time. So deliberate and decide decisions. Here's what I think the decisions are based around. Is it more than just money? Dr. Jansen needs to figure that out. What are some of the other impetuses for this behavior? What are the policies of the care team? How can we get a continuity of care and an understanding between the physician's associate and Dr. Jansen so that we can get a better understanding of what Eli's risks are using all of these different substances? Documentation begins. Let's document from beginning to end and everything in between. Engage the ethics board. Mira, I think it was a great suggestion. I would be engaging the ethics board right away, and I would tell Dr. Jansen to do the same. Review informed consent. We've talked about this. I don't know what the informed consent process was like between the two of them. I would want to know that from Dr. Jansen, but I do know that I think Dr. Jansen needs to review informed consent with Eli immediately and review the laws, make some changes. Dr. Jansen needs to research the laws around this and the legal implications around this. And he needs to talk about those with Eli so they can make a decision tree and figure out, yes, Eli needs money, but is this the way to do it? Could this be potentially harmful legally, medically? What is the harm here? And specifically looking at Eli using these medications in congruence with each other, and what are the potential harms there? So inform supervisor and document. Again, we talked about the documenting. Dr. Jansen should inform his supervisor, and then we reflect on the experience. So we have all of these questions that ask us, what happened during this experience? Here's the two questions I want to look at. Did I adequately identify my competing values? I identified self-reflexively some values that I have. I don't know that they were necessarily competing, but I do know that they would influence the decision making I have in the process. And if I can be aware of them and I can put them out in front, and I can acknowledge them, then hopefully I can, if they were to influence me in a way that would be in any way unethical, I can take a critical look at them and acknowledge them and try to put them to the side or acknowledge them in a way that's important to the process. Also, how can I pay it forward? By being there for my fellow students, my fellow counselors in training, future fellow clinicians. We can show up for each other. We can really give a good thought and good attention to the ethical dilemmas that we're all going to face, and we can show up for each other in ways that are present and that will be valuable to all of our future clients. And I'm going to do that in a moment when I show up and I look at some videos and give some feedback. And I can't wait. Congratulations on a great semester. Hope everybody is well. Take care.